Rusty. And now Becky Earhart will give our invocation.
Everybody bow in prayer. Loving God, bless all those gathered here today as we come together in friendship and fellowship. Thank you for the blessings of our individual and collective God-given gifts. Place in our hearts the desire to make a difference to our families, to our community, to our country, and to the many cultures and peoples worldwide. Give us balance in time of distraction and uncertainty. Help us move towards our goals with determinations and always with an abundant sense of humor. Thank you for food in a world where many know only hunger, for our faith in a world where many know fear, for friends in a world where many know only loneliness. Please bless this food we are about to share, those who prepared it, those who serve it, and those who have worked to make today special. For all in this, we give you thanks in Christ's name.
Thank you, Becky. And now John Peterson. There he is. He's our Mr. Rotarians and guest.
Welcome everybody. Glad to see you all here today, this beautiful Monday. Certainly it's great to gather together with a group of Rotarians such as yourself. We have no visiting Rotarians today, so if all those with a guest, we have somebody with a microphone, stand up, we'll get some introductions.
Okay. I'm Alan Robertson, and we have our guest today, Laura Souza, who is the club's sponsored exchange student from the Canary Islands. I just found out Laura's been to 4 football games since she's been here in the United States. And we've got Kevin and Ashley Limmer, her host family, came too. We're also looking for any young person in this area, aged 15 to 18 and a half, who has good standing academically and would be interested in going abroad next year as an ambassador for this club. So if you know of anyone, please get in touch with me. Thank you.
Hey everybody, I'm Stephen Creech, and I'm happy to have as my guest Jason Lockhart. Jason is a partner at the law firm of McCain Goose Goldilocks and Curry, and he's also my friend and neighbor, and I'm glad to have him here today.
Good afternoon, everybody. I've got as a guest with me today Tim Christensen, President of Reliable Technology Solutions, and Jay Brown, Financial Advisor with Cornerstone Financial Management, and also a National South Carolina Baseball Champion from 2010.
Rusty DePass, and I have 2 guests with me today. John Stringfellow, who has been with us before, is a sales executive with Main Street, and Mark Baumgartner, who is the CEO of an organization called A Moment of Hope.
Did we miss anybody? Again, welcome everybody. Thank you.
Raise this back down. Thank you, John. And now for health and happiness, Audrey Brown.
Good afternoon, everybody. First, before we get into true health and happiness, I want to talk about the CART fund for a minute. Our district, which is quite a large district, and our club, which is the largest in the district, I don't know, can you forward this slide? To get the visual, just so, there we go, numbers. Numbers. So our district total amount raised so far this year is $61,625. Our club has contributed just over $1,000 to that. The average donation per member within the district is $43, while at our club it's $13. So I know that the C in CART fund stands for coins, but folding money is going to go a lot farther. So if you haven't folded anything and put it in the bucket, go ahead and do that. Checks are good, so you have a record for a tax deduction at the end of the year. This is the only way we can make a difference, is finding a cure, and cures don't come cheap. So give heartily. Health and happiness. Most everybody was happy to report that they were healthy and happy and would rather be seen rather than viewed. So we'll take that. We do have a couple of specific items though. Louisa has a new grandson. That makes 7 total grandchildren now. That's 7. Keyshore, who we had reported had knee surgery. The knee surgery was successful, but he had a fall and an infection. So he goes back into surgery today. No fun there. So he asked for prayers, positive thoughts going his way, that everything is successful. Jimmy Derrick's wife, Laura. First of all, she gets an award for being married to Jimmy, who we love. And Jimmy's the first to admit that. But she was honored this past weekend, a statewide honor in real estate. She received the South Carolina Realtors Association Realtor of the Year for 2019. She is the first female from the Midlands to receive the honor and only the 7th female ever to receive it. So big props out to Ms. Laura Derrick. All right, time for a little humor. We're not going to talk football. Laugh or cry, whatever you want to do, depending on your team. So today was the first day of fall. Therefore, it's going to be 90 degrees in Columbia. You know, I saw something on Facebook that said this was Falmer. Take that for what it's worth. As most of you know, I sing, and I'm privileged to sing for Rotary each week. And I've also been privileged, honored, challenged, always done it, to sing in a church choir pretty much all of my life. And I've been a church choir director, and those of you in the ministry and some of the ministers we have here will know that sometimes the choir director and the minister don't always get along with how they think the music program should be. Now, I've been real fortunate that the ministers just did whatever I told them, mainly because I did whatever I wanted to do. But it doesn't always work that way. And at the Hicksville Church, there was a feud between the pastor and the choir director. And it seemed the first hint of trouble came when the pastor preached on dedicating yourselves to service. The choir director chose to sing, "I Shall Not Be Moved." Trying to believe it was a coincidence, the pastor put the incident behind him, Next Sunday he preached on giving. The choir director chose to sing, "Jesus Paid It All." And this time, the pastor was losing his temper, he was about up to here, and Sunday morning attendance had swelled because of the feud, and crowd had showed up to hear his sermon on the sin of gossiping. The choir director selected, "I Love to Tell the Story." And at this point, there was no turning back. The following Sunday, the pastor told the congregation that unless something changed, he was considering resigning. So the entire church gasped when the choir director led them in, "This is the day." Truthfully, no one was surprised the next week when the pastor resigned, explaining that Jesus had led them there, hidden there, and that Jesus was leading him away. And the choir director could not resist and closed with singing, "What a friend we have in Jesus." I've never had to do that, just for personal report there. So, as we close with health and happiness and on a good clean laugh, just remember that no matter how much laughter is in the room or how much the person next to you is smiling, everybody's got some kind of fight that they're fighting. Seen, unseen, unknown, unheard. So if you can, just take a moment to smile at somebody. Tell them hello. That fabulous bow tie, great skirt, you look great today. That might be the only happy thing they hear, and you don't know what kind of positive difference you can make just with one small, kind statement. Have a great week.
Thank you very much. Now, we've got an announcement from Michael Kahn, Rotary Moment.
Thank you so much for that compliment on my bow tie. I appreciate that. John? Yeah, John. So I want to talk to you for a moment today about the importance of inviting guests. And let's see, I may need a reminder on how this works.
Is it on?
Does the light come on when it's on?
I can handle it.
Okay, there it is, okay. So, the question is, why invite guests? I mean, that's a real question. Why would you invite guests to Rotary?
Because it's fun.
It's fun, right? We're fabulous. What else? New members, there you go. All right, those are some great reasons. Let's look at one of them. It's the source of new members and growth for the club. That's a no-brainer. And it's a natural thing to do. So when you're happy and you've found something that's great, it's just natural to share it, isn't it? Third reason, it makes Rotary real for you. So think about it. You invite somebody, you say, I like Rotary because blah, 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 blah. Well, suddenly you think about it. And then, well, you know, that's real for me. So it'll do that for you to invite guests. Those are some real good reasons to invite guests. Next slide. I want to talk for a minute about how we used to do guests and how we do guests now. It used to be that when we would invite guests, all the invitations came from you, the members. You find somebody, you invite them to Rotary, and you can still do that, and I invite you to do that. But now, and back then, these were real closely monitored classifications. In other words, the club was really careful to make sure we didn't wind up with 2 butchers, 2 bakers, 2 candlestick makers. You know, all of them were different. That's not as closely monitored now, so that's one change from back then. And then you'll find now that one of the differences is that a prospect can inquire about Rotary online and sort of make the initial entry himself. If you're getting into the Chamber of Commerce, for instance, you could sign up for it, you pay your money, you're in. That's it. Rotary's a little different. It's always been an invitation sort of thing. But now a member, and Kishore, whom we talk about having some knee problems, he's an example of one of these folks that Googled our club online, found out about it, and said, hey, I'm interested in this. President Stephen picked up the message, did a little checking, because I mean that's the problem, is that anybody can sign up for these things. Did some checking, invited him, and he's become a really great member of our club. So that's a new way of people becoming members of Rotary, and I wanted to point that out. Finally, the important thing I think to remember is that the club still in that way retains control of the membership. So the person may have initiated it, the club still has the final say on inviting that person. So that part has not changed, and that's part of our tradition that we've maintained. So that is it for inviting guests, and thank you for giving me a minute to talk to you about that.
Thank you, Michael. And now, just another reminder, October 24th is World Polio Day. We're having a celebration, or not we, but all of the Rotary in our district, at Sacra Park from 11 to 2. And Cynthia, would you like to run a video? We're so close.
We Rotarians made a promise to the children of the world to rid our planet of the scourge of polio. We keep our promises, and the eradication of polio remains Rotary's highest priority. In order to cross the finish line, we need to remain vigilant. As Rotarians, we need to continue to educate ourselves, our fellow members, and the public on the devastating effects of this virus of children and their families. It's my pleasure to share a special preview of Rotary's documentary, Drop to Zero. It's an in-depth look at the historic effort to eradicate polio. I know you'll find this film as meaningful as I do. Let's take a look.
सबसे ज़्यादा दुख हुआ कि आज हमारे भी दोनों पैर हो गए, तो हम भी उस दुख ज़्यादातर हुआ।
I had a sore throat, a high fever. My dad took me to the doctor and they called my name and I got up and collapsed. And the doctor said she has polio.
Đó không chạy cưới mà chạy tơ nó cứ chạy chạy một cái mó cái mình nuốt của nó nè.
Polio has preyed on humanity for thousands of years, moving around the world from person to person in an unbroken chain of infection. In the early 1950s, there was a particularly intense outbreak in the United States that crippled nearly 60,000 people.
It was really frightening because there was no vaccine and you never knew who was going to get polio. Everybody knew somebody who had the disease. It's been described as the AIDS of the time.
And in the past, precautions are taken to prevent gatherings of youngsters.
Parents wouldn't let their children go swimming. Movie theaters were closed. People were kept inside. Nobody knew what was happening.
What we know today is that polio is spread by contact with contaminated food, water, or human waste. When the virus multiplies in the intestine, many children will only suffer from mild flu-like symptoms. But in 1 in 200 cases, it travels to the spine, attacking nerve cells that control the muscles in the arms and legs, leaving the victim paralyzed. In the worst cases, the victim dies, unable to breathe or swallow. In 1954, at the height of the epidemic, Dr. Jonas Salk tested an injectable vaccine, which offered a first ray of hope. Approximately 5 years later, Dr. Albert Sabin developed an oral vaccine that was less expensive and easier to use. Humanity finally seemed to be gaining the upper hand.
Dr. Salk, you have said that eliminating polio is no longer a scientific problem. I take it you are correctly quoted.
Yes, Mr. Spivak. I think that it's a social and economic problem. The problem is not one of vaccine effectiveness, but one of vaccine use.
Jonas Salk was right. By 1979, 61 countries had used the two vaccines to eradicate polio, including the United States and Canada.
But in the rest of the world, we were still seeing 350,000 children paralyzed every year. So that was part of what contributed to the launching of the Global Polio Eradication Initiative, to ensure that every single child benefits from vaccination. No child should have polio.
We come to this hour grateful for the achievements of the past.
The drive for global eradication came from a most unlikely source. Rotary International, a group of business and professional leaders dedicated to public service, was looking for a global project to celebrate its 75th anniversary.
Smallpox had been eradicated just 1 year before, so we decided to take on polio.
It seemed like an impossible dream.
When we first approached the World Health Organization about working with us to eradicate polio, they felt that we were amateurs, we didn't know what we were talking about, that we really didn't have anything to bring to the table.
So Rotary went it alone, supplying volunteers and vaccines for mass immunization programs around the world.
We knew that there was a vaccine that could be easily administered. It could be done by non-professional individuals by just
2 little drops into the child's mouth. From Brazil to El Salvador, from Indonesia to the Ivory Coast. These initial campaigns were remarkably successful. In 1979, we did a huge vaccination program in the Philippines, 6 million children, and we found it worked. And Rotary raised money for further campaigns.
Exceeded that goal and raised $119,186,000. We're over.
Now, the World Health Organization took notice.
We went back to them and said, we've raised $248 million. Will you work with us to accomplish this? And at that point, the World Health Organization said, yes.
The fact that a volunteer organization can persuade public and private people to join us in this manner, I think, says a great deal for mankind that it can be done. In 1988, the World Health Organization launched a public-private partnership called the Global Polio Eradication Initiative, officially adopting Rotary's dream.
Without Rotary International lobbying and pressuring and forcing agencies to talk to each other and governments to talk to agencies, we never would have started the Global Polio Eradication Initiative.
The United Nations Children's Fund agreed to purchase and distribute vaccines. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control would serve as the program's global virus hunter.
You know, if you look at what's made a difference in terms of the progress, often political commitment has been a factor. And Rotary has been key in terms of motivating community leadership, political leadership, to get this job done.
The World Health Organization would direct the program's strategy. And Rotary would continue to supply volunteers, raise funds, and act as the program's global advocate.
There were many skeptics. The sheer magnitude of vaccinating between 250 million and 400 million children every year, it's mind-boggling. It's the largest global health initiative in history, involving more people on the planet than any other initiative.
When the program started in 1988, the goal was to eradicate polio by the year 2000. Although the program missed its original deadline, the number of infected countries dropped from 125 to 9. To provide vaccine to remote areas, the polio program has built a globe-spanning network called a cold chain, which keeps the vaccine from spoiling. The cold chain begins with private sector drug companies that supply billions of doses of vaccine to UNICEF, which stockpiles, manages, and transports the vaccine to polio programs around the world.
It's very, very difficult at the best of times to be able to reach people consistently every month with a viable vaccine that you've kept at the right temperature and get to every household and reach every child, let alone in areas of civil crisis.
This has brought to the fore our need to ensure that we do not become complacent, because this is what the virus does. It surprises you.
As the global program closes in on the goal of eradicating polio, all the stakes get higher.
They'll say, we made a promise to the children of the world, and we haven't delivered yet, and we won't stop until we do.
We need each of you to advocate for continued support from government and elected officials, to talk to your fellow club members, family, and friends, to ask them to join you in making a financial contribution. Let's not forget that every donation to End Polio Now will be matched 2-to-1 by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And finally, please encourage your district leaders to contribute district-designated funds. District-designated fund contributions will be matched 1-for-1 by the World Fund. And with a 2-to-1 Gates Foundation match, contributions of district designated funds will yield a 6-to-1 match. These critical funds will save lives. That's our history, our vision, and our legacy. Rotary members had the audacity to start this campaign, and we won't stop until it's done.
Thank you, Cynthia. And now to introduce our wonderful speaker is my favorite person, Leo Richardson.
Thank you so much. I am delighted to have this privilege. I didn't know I was getting myself in. Several have the privilege of doing this. I was in the bathroom last Monday with Mason. And I was telling him how delighted I was to have this program being presented today. And I was telling him my role in it. And then when I told him, he said, would you like to introduce the speaker? So here I am. I think that the history of polio is somewhat similar to this organization. Back in a year or two before polio, I was called in by the commissioner. And he says, I'm tired of these ministers talking to me about teenage pregnancy. And I said, what you calling me in here for? I don't know anything about teenage pregnancy. And he said, so we talked a little bit. He said, now here are 2 books. And a telephone number for a lady in Houston. So I want you to read these books. Go to Houston, talk to this lady, and get the program started. And so I hyperventilated for a minute. He said, now get out and go get the program started. So I did what I was told. Read the books, went to Houston, came back, went to the School of Social Work, talked to Professor Beth, and then putting some things together. And then I went to several agency heads asking them for someone to assist us in this effort. We were able to get the program started. Now, I did not name the program. When he gave me the books and the telephone number, he said, now I want you to call it the Teen Companion Program. And so I didn't produce the name, he did. So when we got it together, after we went to several different counties and going through some difficulty trying to convince people we ought to get this Teen Companion Program started, we finally put it together. And first director of the Department of Social Services was Ms. Carol Singletary, and she's here today, and she's still part of the campaign. Carol, stand up for us so they can see who you are. So, that's you. What's important, as you saw on the video regarding polio, this program is somewhat similar. You have a lot of things that are going on in our nation. The big thing is, we know what the problems are. The big thing is, what are you doing about it? So we got it started, and after a while, and some very ambitious people got it together and sort of took it and revised it, made it a 501c3, got some money, and called it the Campaign to Prevent Pregnancy. And I understand that the name has been changed to Fact Forward. I'm sure that our speaker will tell you the history of that. Our speaker for today is Mrs. Elizabeth A. Santis. She has a BS degree in nursing from the University of Virginia. We won't hold that against her. But she does have a MSc and Master's of Nursing from the University of South Carolina. And she's certified for women's health. She's a certified women's health nurse practitioner. She also got that from the university. I would like to read her personal statement on her resume, and then the positions and honors. I won't go through that. The organizations she belonged to, which are numerous, I won't go through that. I'll just read the personal statement, which I think is important. And after that, she can too also tell us the history, the vision, and we will be working on our legacy as the Fact Forward organization move forward. Mrs. Santis was the Chief Executive Officer at Fact Forward, formerly known as the South Carolina Campaign to Prevent Teen Pregnancy, since 2016. It is her continued mission to improve the lives of all women, knowing that the teen years are virtually important. She has leveraged federal, state, and private funders to support the great work of pre-pregnancy prevention programs to achieve the desired outcome, lowering the unintended pregnancy rate in our state. With a successful public health and clinical women's health career, she has strategized for expansion or contractions of initiatives dependent on funding, evidence generated, and needs of the community. She has a strong presence and known to be a leader in guiding, improving, and dreaming of a better future for the women of South Carolina and the nation. As she has dedicated her career to the valuable work of improving the health of women and children, now's the time to focus on teen pregnancy prevention. Please welcome our speaker for the day, Ms. Elizabeth A. DeSantis.
Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm usually a walker, so if I kind of look a little bit jittery up here, please excuse me. I do go by Beth, so if you call me Elizabeth, I'll feel like I'm being called in a doctor's office or into the principal's office or something like that. So thank you very much for the opportunity to come and speak today. It's very exciting to be in front of this many people who have dedication to making our communities better. And also, I just want to do a disclaimer at the beginning. Pregnancy is linked to sex. Everybody knows that, right? So I'd like to say that right up front because I like to be as blunt as possible when it comes to the issue that we talk about with young people. Young people have a right to have the right information at the right time to make the right decisions. And there's a lot of rights there, right? Young people have a right to have information. Because if they don't have the right information, they are going to make the wrong decision. So, I need to know the room. What's the first rule in public speaking? Know your audience. So we're going to do a little exercise. Please bear with me. It helps me know what to say to you. I would like for those of you in the room who have children, offspring, doesn't matter how old they are, to raise your hand. And please keep your hand up. Who in the room knows somebody who was once young? And then who else? Keep your hands up, please. Because by the time we're done, we better have every hand up in the room. Who cares about young people? Okay, great. Thank you. So what that shows is that when it comes to young people, everybody has a role in this. But we are going to get a little bit more specific as I go through this, and I will watch the time so that I give you guys time for questions. All right, our name is now Fact Forward, and our tagline is Advancing Reproductive Health. So if those of you in the room don't know what reproductive health is, it's in this area. Does that make sense? Okay, yeah, we're good. Stop me if I'm going too fast. But the fact is, and I use that word wisely, the fact is that in order to have good reproductive health, we have to have knowledge. Knowledge are based off of facts. So it doesn't matter how old you are, you need the right facts to make the right decisions. Would you make financial decisions without any facts?
No.
No. Thank you. Would you make legal decisions without the facts?
No.
No. We as a society make really good decisions when we have the right information, and when we don't have the right information, we go out and we find it. Has anybody heard of Google? Mm-hmm. That's what we do, right? Just Google it. Well, guess what young people do? They Google it too. And sometimes Google doesn't give them the right information when it comes to this kind of health. So that's our role. In order to help young people move forward, and again, I use that word wisely, in their life, our whole mission is to make sure that they have the right information about their health. So our organization works to get the information to the right people at the right time so that young people make the right decisions at the right time. Facts, moving them forward. Does that make sense? We are more than just a teen pregnancy prevention organization, and we are more than just in South Carolina. We work at the national level, we work in other states, but we also work here in South Carolina, and we're based in Columbia. So again, I say thank you for taking the time to listen to what we do. Here's the main issue, folks, where we get really into it. South Carolina has the 16th highest teen birth rate in the country. We used to be in the top 10, so the news is good. We're getting better, but we're getting better because we're able to reach more young people with the right information and the right facts. But look at the next bullet. STIs are sexually transmitted infections, or sexually transmitted diseases. And what we are seeing is an alarming trend of upward movement for our young people having these diseases. So just in case you didn't know, sexually transmitted diseases come from sex. So do you see how pregnancy and STIs are kind of related? And I don't mean it that way. I'm not being rude. I'm just being blunt. When we work with young people, we need them to understand that sexually transmitted diseases or infections are on the rise in their age group. And it's alarming. 67% of chlamydia cases, that's only one of the STDs out there, are in our young people's category, the 15 to 24-year-olds. Can I just help me? Who knows a 15 to 24-year-old? So there's a lot of you in this room who I hope are scared by that, because I am, and I know Carol is, and Lydia is also here who works for our organization. It's scary. The teen pregnancy rates are coming down, rock on, but the STD rates are going up, and that's very scary. The other thing is that HPV is the virus that causes a lot of the reproductive health organ cancers, so cervical cancer, uterine cancer, and a lot of oral cancers. And there's a vaccine out there, kind of like your polio vaccine. There's a vaccine out there, and South Carolina is not really doing so well at getting our young people vaccinated against that. So we have a lot of work to do. That's why I'm very thankful to be in front of you guys, so that we can talk about it, so that you know about it. Can you go to the next? Mm-hmm. I could stand up here and give you all kinds of scary stories all day long. But really, it's a question of what can we all do? What do we do? We work in 3 areas. We work with adults who have kids. How hard is that conversation with your young people about sex, about love, about relationships, but mostly about sex? It's not an easy conversation to have with your young people. And so we work to work with you, to help you have those conversations. And if anybody would like to, I would love to hear if one person would like to say, what was it like when your parents had that conversation with you? Anybody?
What was it like?
Yeah, what was it like when your parents had the conversation with you about sex for the first time?
Me?
I don't care. Anybody. That's the question. I heard one person here say awkward.
They didn't have it.
They didn't have it. In our trainings with adults, we go through that and we help you understand when you had that conversation with your parents, it was either awful or awkward or it didn't happen or it was disastrous or I got the wrong information or I just got a book. And then turn it around and say, how do you want to be there for your kids? And we do that in the community. Sometimes people will donate trainings. They'll say, here, I'll write you a check so you can go out into this organization. So if there's anybody in the room who has an organization they would like us to come and train, we just need some kind of either sponsorship or a donation to cover that. It's a fabulous training. It's so cool because you then get to role play on how to talk to your kid. Somebody laughed. That was good. It is awkward even now. I'm a nurse, I lead this organization, I talk about teenage sex all the time, and I feel uncomfortable. So I want you to understand, it's not just you. Then we work with schools and community-based organizations to give them evidence-based curriculums to teach young people. Because evidence-based curriculums actually do work. And how do they work? Those young people delay sexual onset. In other words, they wait longer, and they have less pregnancies. It's scary, but the average age of first sexual contact in this state for our young people is around the age of 14. Does anybody know a 14-year-old? Yeah. Yeah, they're impulse driven. They just want to go. They want to go. They want to go. That's what their brains tell them to do. And then they've got all these hormones. And so asking them to stop and put on a condom is not really realistic unless they have a lot of training and a lot of talking. And it doesn't happen in our schools, not nearly enough. So then it falls back on the parents, who 90% of parents say they don't have the right information to talk to their kids. So therefore they don't feel comfortable talking to their kids. But those parents are already in a relationship. Those parents have already had love. And those parents have already had sex. Right? Because where do babies come from? Sex. If we don't feel comfortable talking about it, we need help. And we need training. And we need exercising. That's what we do. And the last area that we really work really well with is the medical community. That doctor, that nurse needs to feel very comfortable talking to a young person about this health. Because what they really focus on are colds and flus and broken bones and their vaccination records. But we need to have medical providers who are willing to say to that 15-year-old, are you planning on having sex in this next year? How can I help you? That's powerful. Parents talking about it, schools and community-based organizations, medical community. That's how we wrap around our young people. But it's all with the right information and feeling comfortable. So if anybody is, and I'm watching, anybody in a group that says, I want you to come and train our group, our adults, so our adults feel better talking about it, that's what we do a lot of. It's all about accurate information leading to better decisions. Young people have a right to the information. We need to do a better job of getting it to them. Because in that moment, when they decide, am I going to have sex with this person? They are usually alone with that person. We aren't there with them, but we can arm them with the right information to get them there. So we call it, we've created the phrase, be an askable adult. Be an adult in that young person's life who is willing to feel those butterflies in your stomach and risk giving them the wrong information and have that conversation. Because that's the only way that we are going to help our young people be armed with the right information to make the right decision at the right time. Be an askable adult. And how do we reach the community? Go ahead, just make it quick. As a leader in your community, please think about whether or not, if you make charitable contributions, if we could at Fact Forward be on your list. Factforward.org is our website. We've left some information on your tables about different things that you could partner with us on. We accept charitable donations. We also accept corporate sponsorships. But really what we're looking to is to partner with the business community in a way that we can help yourself, your employees, your church, your community be more comfortable with these kind of conversations because they're uncomfortable. So I did want to leave some time for questions because this issue is a big issue and I know it's kind of heavy. Sure, sir, right here.
You say you partner with businesses, and I assume you're partnering with other agencies involved in the same thing. So 2 questions.
Sure.
What other agencies do you partner with, and is Planned Parenthood one of them?
So we have not partnered with Planned Parenthood. They're very much a medical community, a medical model that is very well aware of these issues. We don't need to go in and train them. They have national trainings of their own at Planned Parenthood. So we work with DHEC, we work with the health department, we partner with DSS. We actually get state appropriations through DSS so that we work on this issue with them. We train their employees, we go out and do community sponsorships to raise awareness on the issue. And then we work with national organizations. We're funded out of the Office of Adolescent Health from the federal level. And then we work with private donors as well, the Duke Endowment, Blue Cross and Blue Shield Foundation of South Carolina, just to run through. We have a myriad of different organizations that we work with to try to cover the whole state. I hope that answered the question.
So you're only involved in prevention, not post-pregnancy?
Well, it's interesting. The newest areas that we've gone into with the federal funding are pregnant and parenting teens. Because unfortunately the data is showing us that teens who have a first pregnancy will repeat pregnancy still in their teen years. And so we're really trying to interrupt that cycle. In the way back?
I don't want to be disrespectful, but your values, I'm going to guess, on some of these issues and mine might differ.
That's okay.
And I've heard a lot about rights of children.
Right.
Of 14-year-olds to a lot of information.
Right.
I've had no trouble talking with my teenage children about this information. What about the rights of parents to decide when and how that information is given?
No, you're absolutely right. You hit the best issue when it comes to the parent part of our work. Parents, when they have values at home, right, are very good at sharing those values with their children. That is the best place to get the best information. Your child is known better by the parent than by the school system, by their coaches. Parents play a crucial role. And I think we value the same thing, sir, which is educate at home by the values of your family, because that's ingrained lifelong. Where I come in is, and where we come in as an organization, is for the parents who are struggling to have those conversations or afraid to have conversations. So, in a sense, you don't need us. And I'm glad for that, because that is what's going to prove success in our community. So thank you for sharing that. That's exactly what we want.
Yes, ma'am. I had a conversation with a young girl right before I came here today. Her mom works in my office. She came walking down the hall with a bandage on her arm, and I said, "Are you okay?" And she had a big grin on her face. She said, "Yeah, I just went to get some blood work," and she's 19 years old with no job. And I said, "Well, come into my office." And I said, "Are you pregnant?" And she said, "Yes." And she said, "Well, we weren't planning on this." But I wanted to shake her and say, if you're having sex with no protection, you are planning it. So how do we get the kids from that mindset that, oh, we're not planning it? Because yes, you are. You're having sex and you're not protected.
I think that's exactly where this work is, which is to say, okay, we have ways of not getting pregnant. there is access out there. There are methods of birth control out there. But why are they not accessing the system? And that's where we do a lot of research and trying to figure out from the perspective of that 19-year-old, where did the system let you down? Because ultimately, if you weren't planning it, you weren't doing anything to avoid it either. Without blame, what can we improve? And how do we make the system better so that you are so supported all around you? And that's why we have the 3-prong approach. And so I thank you, because that's exactly the kind of conversation you need to have with her, which is, okay, now what? You weren't planning it, so how do you then prepare? Because this is a big life changer. 19 is really early to have a baby in today's day and age. So thank you. Yeah.
You mentioned that if we wanted you to come and do a training, that it would be, a cost to kind of cover the sponsorship of it. If I was to invite you to come to one of my small businesses that I help market and do a training for stay-at-home moms in, mid to upper income level, what would that cost? And I'm anticipating like 20 people. I know this will be a very big deal. So what is the cost to sponsor?
I could sit up here and spew some numbers for you, but really it's an individual based approach that we take so that we make sure that we're not outpricing you, but also so that our costs are covered. So it's more of a case of, hey, just send me an email and we'll start working on how big your crowd is, what the location is, so that we can give you an individual price, right? So we've got to cover the cost of staff. But if the room is free and there's no refreshments, that's the kind of stuff. So it'd be great. I'd love to, if you'd email me directly, we'll work it out.
Okay.
Thank you. That's great. There was another hand. Yes, sir.
Do you partner with any school districts?
Oh, we do. Yes, sir.
Religious organizations?
We do. We have and we do. And that's the kind of interest that I would love to see if people in the room have that kind. I'll give you my business card. If there's other ones that want to partner or want to work together. The school-based work has been in multiple different districts across the state. I could list them off for you. But those are all about evidence-based interventions that the teachers are taught how to do those evidence-based interventions with the kids. So it's a planned curriculum that has been shown through evaluation to actually help kids make better decisions. In the way back. Hello, sir.
About 10 years ago, I did a lot of work in the area of child abuse and neglect. One of the facts that I learned in that work was that a large percentage of teen pregnancies were caused in cases where the girl was being abused by someone she knew, family member or whatever, and she would get pregnant to stop the abuse. Is that still the case? Is there a large percentage of that teen pregnancy still in that area?
Yes, unfortunately, you've hit on an issue that is very co-linked to teens who are young in their sexual start is abuse. So we partner a lot with Children's Trust of South Carolina to try to really focus in on abuse victims and make sure that they have the proper education to help them move their way forward. But yes, you hit on an issue that is very real in the world of teen pregnancy.
Thank you, Beth. That was so interesting and so informative for all of us. And we have a little token of appreciation for you.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, next week, President-elect Mason.
Next week we have Matthew Martin from the Richmond Federal Reserve, who's in charge of the Charlotte office.
This is closed. Y'all have a wonderful week.